Hi and welcome back to my channel, Koala's Creep In. I am Koala. So this episode I'm gonna talk about my shamanic toolbox, herbs and plant medicine. So what I'm not gonna do in this video is talk about every herb and how to use it and what to do, etc., etc. Because that first of all, that would take too long. And second of all, I am not all knowing. And there are a lot of plants with plant medicine that I don't use. So I prefer to use herbs and plants that are not psychedelic and not activating in that sense, much because I don't need it and I don't take responsibility for other people using it during my ceremonies. So I don't want people using it in my ceremonies. And if someone comes into a ceremony of mine under the influence of a plant medicine, then they're not welcome. I will be, thank you for coming. Please come back when you are not under the influence of something. Because I don't take responsibility for whatever can happen to them. Because in a shamanic ceremony, the purpose is most often to change your state of mind in a way, like going into trance state or meditative state. For me, it's a distinction between the meditative and the trance state, but and I can hold people back from entering the trance state if I want them to be in the meditative state, and I can help them reach the trance state if that's the purpose of the ceremony. But I I don't take responsibility for people using that kind of like psychedelics because that opens the door too much. It's most often more than necessary. So if someone is interested in plant medicine that are psychedelic or has the other kind of hallucinogenic properties or alike, I will refer them to people that I know work with the specific plant that they are interested in, and that's usually like a bigger thing, usually like a retreat or something, and the people come and then there's a ceremony around it and then they stay there for a while, so that's the leader or like the shaman or shamanic practitioner that is in charge can see that everyone is doing okay and guiding them through it and guiding them down from it, etc., etc. And this is something to keep in mind wherever in the world you are going to receive the medicine of a plant medicine that expands the mind, that do it in a setting and with people that know the plant very well, what it's capable of and what the properties are and how to manage that kind of state in you and in the other people. So I've never felt the need to use, at least not so far, in my career as a shamanic practitioner. I haven't felt the need because I am I easily go from one state to the other and back again, and I know the difference between them, and I can guide myself and other people without any additives. So, like the most I use is, like kind herbs like chamomile and lavender and cornflower. So, and those are actually more potent than you might think. So, and that's enough for me, and that's enough for most people that I guide. And I have had people come to me that haven't had one single good experience, and then I drum for them and I guide them, and they are like, wow, my I saw colors, I saw everything so vividly. It felt like I was there, and I guide them back to be grounded and safe and back in their own bodies, and no shifting, so that is most often very much enough for my ceremonies and for me as a person. And if I don't use anything myself, then I don't guide other people in using it. that's like that's like 101, if you wouldn't do it yourself, then don't give it to others. So that was like the uh what in Swedish we would say klausul. I don't know what the English word for it, but so that's the intro. And how I work with herbs and plant medicine depends on the whatever plant I'm talking about and working with, of course. You have the classic ones in a lot of ceremonies today in this day and age, which is cacao. And the cacao has certain properties, and it's mostly heart expanding, but it's also mind expanding as well in my experience of it. It can also be very grounding. It's a plant that very much welcomes whatever intention you put into it, and if you know it by heart with your heart, then it's easy to work together with this plant. So that's why I like it a lot, and I use it in all kinds of different ways. But it's heart expanding. It helps you to let go of inhibitions that makes you hinder yourself in everyday life, and maybe like limit your way of thinking and way of feeling and way of thinking of your future and how to create your own future and your own life. So it doesn't take away inhibitions in this sense. It takes away inhibitions in the sense of making you trust yourself more, believe in yourself more, open your heart. You opens your heart to see that people around you aren't as bad as you think, and there's a lot of good things about cacao that really comes forth in the ceremony. And so the two ways I would say that I work with cacao specifically is one. The first one is placing working with an intention, like uh, having a clear intention on what you want from the plant medicine, and then receiving that, and then integrating that into your body, mind, spirit, and soul, and heart, and then expanding on that into your everyday life as you go forward. It's a very short ritual. It's mostly a ritual, but and in that way I use it as a helper in ceremonies, which is a very good way of using cacao. And cacao ceremonies, I've learned, isn't something that is really prominent in the Mayan culture. You don't like they have cacao ceremonies for the Western people, but it's something that they use in other settings as a helper, to expand the heart for healing and for other purposes. So with an intention, that's how I use cacao to open up before, like I both receive it myself and give it to my clients, um, when we have agreed upon it in beforehand, when they are to receive healing, or if they really need it, or yeah, intuitively. When I make an appointment with someone, I use my intuition to like put together whatever we're gonna, like the schedule or the session we're gonna have together. And if I sense that cacao is something that this person needs, then that's incorporated. I had a client not long ago that came to me specifically for a heart opening ceremony, and that's a like a given for cacao. So the other way I work with cacao is that I use it in not with an intention in that way, but with an intention of opening the heart and receiving guidance from the cacao goddess or the spirit of cacao. And uh, most of my ceremonies entail some kind of meditation aspect. So in this setting, we receive the cacao and then we go into meditation together with the specific purpose of receiving, maybe plant the seed if it's a new moon ceremony. So I use it as an additive or a helper in new moon ceremonies, in most often moon ceremonies of different kind, like new moon and full moon. And I have had like pure cacao ceremonies with the intention of meeting the spirit of cacao and listening to the medicine and receiving the medicine, and then guiding through a meditation that brings that forth to the participants. So I wanted to talk a little bit about cacao just because it's so common nowadays and I do work with it. So I wanted to just share a piece of my perspective, because I could talk a lot about cacao, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna continue now talking about some other herbs that I use, but most of all, I'm gonna talk about how I work with them, or more specifically, how I get to know them. Because my opinion is, don't work with anything that you don't know. And one way of knowing a plant or an herb is to read up on it, to look through a lot of books and a lot of pages on the internet, and find some kind of consensus on what an herb is for, hopefully some really good sources on the properties of the herbs that you, or the herb or plant that you're looking into. So that's one way, like filling your mind with knowledge, like written knowledge or other people's opinion on the specific plant. The other way is used as a complement to the first. So I prefer to do both these. So one is like filling the mind with knowledge and wisdom about it, and then the other one is to turn to the plant itself, to invite it into ceremony, and to receive the medicine and to be guided by the plant in the ceremony. And for me, that is in meditation. I like a channeled meditation, uh, communing and communicating with the plant spirit, or the spirit of the plant. So that's my most common way of working with plants overall. It doesn't matter if it's an herb, if it's a flower, if it's a tree. It doesn't matter if I can drink it or eat it, or if I can't. Especially when it comes to poisonous plants. If I want to get to know a poisonous plant, I don't ingest it, or no, I don't do that. I simply find the plant outside and then invite it into ceremony in that space. So I ask the plant and the place for permission, and if I feel granted to be there, then I open a sacred space around it and I sit by the plant and greet it with my spirit and commune with it in that way. And the most I get from the plant is the smell, you know so that it can speak to me. But all living things have a spirit and have energy. That's my way of looking at it. So I have an animistic point of view of all things. So stones, plants, animals, every machines, everything you can think of have a spirit. And I can make another video about machines. But this is about plants and herbs. So I do hold workshops in this. It's one of the things that I love to teach other people, how to communicate and learn from plants. So I do have a workshop with this. It's one workshop with the same kind of layout, and then I cater it to whatever plants are in season. So like I had one recently, and when I record this, it's the middle of March. So I had one recently, and we focused on herbs that we picked last season. So dried herbs. And then you can have the same workshop in the spring with newly picked young plants, and then you can have one in the summer with more mature plants, and then also you can have one in the summer or spring, or yeah, late summer maybe, with more toxic plants that you don't digest. So or ingest. I don't know the meaning of those words. I'm sorry. I don't want to like choose the wrong words, but you know what I mean. Eat and drink. That's what I mean. So um like yesterday, no? Yeah, yesterday I had a ceremony or a ritual. When I do the same thing, like when something looks the same, to me the difference between a ceremony and a ritual is that the ritual is something that I do that looks the same every time I do it. So, like getting to know an herb, the only thing that changes in that ritual is which herb do I connect with. And the cacao rituals that I have for myself, the only thing that differs is the intention, but everything else around it is the same. And then a ceremony is bigger, and it's more fluid. So one ceremony can contain a bunch of rituals. So I can open the sacred space and have like a new moon or full moon ceremony, and then I can choose rituals to incorporate into that. Or it's a ceremony with a focus that is for one time only, and that's why it's a ceremony, because it's not something ritualistic. So it's not an intention I take with me forward and continue to do the same thing over and over. So my rune ceremonies are ceremonies because we focus on different runes each time. You could call it a ritual, but it's not. The elements within it is not uh, alike enough for me to call it a ritual, because there's so many elements that differs within that setting. So yesterday I had a plant getting to a plant ritual to get to know lavender more deeply, because I worked with lavender for many years, and I just realized that, oh, I haven't really done this with lavender, and I wanted to know if lavender had something more to tell me than what I've already gathered from working with it, like overall. So and it had a lot to show me, and it was very interesting. So in that case, lavender is an herb that you can drink. I haven't really tried eating it, but I have drunk it. So I made a tea. A tea is or an infusion is a very good way of preparing herbs. You might just have to, you know, look up what kind of temperature they can endure and that sort of thing, and what's the best for that herb. There are some herbs that needs to be tinctures, and because it needs alcohol to draw out the substances in it that you need for the physical medicine of it. But so I chose to have lavender in a tea, and only lavender. So I only have the plant that I'm gonna get to know. And I did get to know the plant very, very well, and it was a lovely experience, and that's how I get to know my plants. So I mix a spiritual experience with a plant ritual and knowledge from other sources. And they always like this, but more kind of like this, so that like the smaller hand is the knowledge from other people, from other sources, from books, whatever, and then the spiritual experience envelopes this and just brings out more of the plant medicine and brings out more wisdom and more medicine. So that's how I work with herbs and plants. And some of my favorite plants to work with are, I have one here, it's one of my aloes. And then, as I said, lavender, and I also use roses a bit, but I don't like it to, I don't like the taste of it. But, and then, yeah, I don't know the English word for stuff, but yeah, like most common herbs I use, and then I have most recently started to get to know blue lotus a little bit also. So, and it's amazing to learn how you can combine the different herbs by simply asking the herbs or getting to know the herbs and then uh, put together your own blends from whatever you gather, the knowledge we gather from the herbs. So my recent knowledge from lavender tells me that I can complement lavender with something that is not quite so soothing and but not something that makes me like more awake. I would combine it with something more grounding. So I haven't really thought about what yet, but maybe I would try licorice root to uh, to mix with. I don't know how the taste would be though, but the important thing isn't the taste, it's the properties of the plants and the combinations. And uh, I find that when you welcome the medicine of the plant and the spirit of the plant into your mind, body, spirit, soul, and heart, you um, it tastes better, you know. It really does. So that's gonna be my closing words for this video. And I wish you a lovely week. Until next time, walk in beauty with all the plants and herbs around you. And please let me know in the comment section which plants and herbs you like and if you have a different way of getting to know them than I do. I would really like to know. Chilling!